John Thompson is a best-selling author, speaker, and global head of artificial intelligence at EY. And we're very fortunate because he's coming to Madison September 30th and October 1st. He's leading a mini boot camp on building analytics teams, and then also speaking on AI on Monday at our main UWEBC Annual Conference. John Thompson, thanks so much for being with us. You are in a fascinating field, and it just changes all the time, doesn't it?
Thank you, John. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to get to Madison, one of my favorite towns in the Midwest, if
Yay.
not in all of the United States. It's such a great place to be. Oddly enough, being a Midwesterner, I love the fall. I
Uh-huh.
actually may stay up there into December just so I can see the snow and all the other kind of stuff that's happening in Madison. What a great town.
Awesome.
Can't wait. Looking forward to this conversation as well.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about AI because I think there's so little known about it by most of us, and you deal with it every day. And I'm looking at the paper the other day, and the New York Times has this commentary: Will AI save us or kill us first? There's a lot of drama and intrigue surrounding it. Obviously, I think you're on the side that it's going to save us and help us, right? That's why you do what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I read that article and then I saw it popping up all over the place. And I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So, everybody listening, if you want to understand AI from a common sense perspective, link with me on LinkedIn. I saw that and then I was going to jump on and post about it. And I thought, there's going to be so many people commenting on this. I'm just going to not say anything. I believe AI is going to save us. I believe AI is going to make the arts more intense and creative. It's going to take away drudgery work. It's going to help us do all sorts of interesting things. All this dystopian future and Terminator. And I don't know how many times I've answered the question when Terminator is coming. And the answer is never, just to let you know. Don't worry about it. Just go kick the plug out. It's only a computer.
John, one of the points that the author Nicholas Kristof did make, though, was that it's important for the U.S. to maintain the lead in development of AI. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, there's no doubt. I like Nick. I like his writing. He's a great columnist and journalist. So I do agree with him. We do need to keep our lead in the AI field. And University of Wisconsin, University of Michigan, all the great universities in the United States really should be pouring all sorts of money into understanding AI and all its flavors. There's the foundational AI that we've been working with for 50, 60 years. There's generative AI, which is a derivative of foundational AI, which has splashed onto the field in the last 2 years. And then there's causal AI, which is something Judea Pearl has been working on for a while. And he's created an entire new field of calculus around it. People ask me with fair regularity, I'm surprised I get this question all the time, is like, when is this going to be over? When are we going to be done? And the answer is never. We're never going to be done. Because at the heart of what we do in AI, it's all mathematics. And mathematics has been evolving since the day of the Sumerians. It's not going to stop. Data is going to be continued to be generated. Synthetic data is now possible. It's one of those things that people should just get comfortable that this is the world we live in, and it's going to continue to get more and more interesting. Let's say that.
You deal with artificial intelligence all the time. So let me ask you a couple of specific questions about most people have heard at this point of Gen AI, but you mentioned causal AI. So what's the next level there? Why is it different than Gen AI?
Generative AI is the use of neural networks to predict the next word or the next sentence or the next chapter or whatever it is. It's a highly probabilistic endeavor through very large language models. And sometimes they're not as accurate as we'd like them to be, but for the most part, they're good enough for the things we use them for. Causal AI is more of a takes us back to the foundational AI kind of approach. It's more mathematical, it's more rigorous. It's still probabilistic. We're past the era of determinism where 2 plus 2 is 4. We're into probabilities now. But causal AI really allows us to model the situation of, hey, if we give this patient or any patient X dose of this drug or 2X or 3X or 4X, what's going to happen? What is the cause of that dosage going to be on their specific physiology and condition? Now, think about it. If you went to give someone 1X, 2X, 3X, 4X, you probably would hurt them. So you can't really do this in the real world. So that's where causal AI comes into play, where there are things like medicine and military applications and some public safety applications. You just can't really simulate it in the real world. You can't do it because it would cause harm. Causal AI is there to help us model the real world and understand, hey, more than likely the dosage is 1.5x.
Hmm. And so let's talk about the fact that AI relies on mining a lot of data that may be out there on the internet that may belong to people. There's some discussion over who owns that data and who can just access it to build their models. Where do you come down on that? I know you've said as an author, you're okay with people grabbing excerpts out of your several books.
I wrote my third book, I released last year, as a book called Data for All. And the premise of Data for All is that you own your data, John. I own my data. Things that we generate and that are out on the internet, we own. Now, Arthur C. Nielsen, when he created his company, AC Nielsen, set us on a path where most people really didn't think data was worth anything. And we got the messages from all sorts of companies like Amazon and Facebook that they own our data. That's not really true. The fact of the matter is, you own your data, I own my data, authors own their own books and things like that. And we really need to have that mindset change in the population that you should be able to. And in Europe, there's legislation there, and it's coming to the United States, where you should have the right to be forgotten, and it should be effective. You should be able to go to Amazon or to Facebook or any company and say, within reason, for the things that you hold data on me, I want you to erase it all.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have to hold it because of legal reasons or business operations or whatever, okay, you can't probably erase it all, but you should be able to get rid of most of it. The bottom line is, everybody owns their own data. That ownership should be respected. And in the coming future, you will be able to monetize your data. I did an exercise, and I don't really use my phone, and I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Insta, I'm not on Pinterest or any of these sites. I use maybe 3 apps in my whole life. And I looked at it and I said, okay, out of those 3 apps and my position in society and things like that, if I did nothing else, I should be getting a data dividend of about $1,600 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh, that's not that much money. But if someone stacked up $1,600 on the table in front of you, John, would you just walk out of the room and not pick it up?
Right. I would
No,
not.
you
Yeah.
would not. You
Uh-huh.
would not. For doing the things that you do today, you should get paid. Led Zeppelin gets a tenth of a penny every time a Stairway to Heaven or any Led Zeppelin song is played. You should get a tenth of a penny for every time your data is touched. So if someone's going to use your browsing data or your cell phone record data, your mobile phone or your health records, heaven forbid, if they're going to touch that data, they should pay you. So you could look at it and say, hey, I'm not a big fan of oil companies or logging companies or any other company that causes something deleterious to you or the environment or your family or whatever. You should be able to put a price on that and say, every time ExxonMobil wants to use my data, they have to pay me $1 million. They're not going to do that. They're not going to use your data. They're not going to pay you that much. But you've sent a message. You
Mm-hmm.
said, look, I don't like you. I want you to know that. And as an individual, how many times do you get a chance to say that to a corporation?
That's a good point. And I know you have literally written the book on building analytics teams, harnessing analytics and AI for business improvement. And so that is also I believe, the mini boot camp you're going to be leading on September 30th. Tell me about analytics teams. Two questions I have, because I heard a great couple of quotes from you. You said, if my teams weren't failing in a significant number of our projects, we weren't pushing the envelope far enough, and that analytics teams are more like teams of artists than they are developers. Expound on that, if you would.
Yeah, in analytics, we really are pushing the envelope. We should be seen in the corporation as a transformation function, because we're taking data, we're looking at the world as it is, and we're coming back and saying our processes were laid out 20 some years ago, maybe 100 years ago. The world has changed, and this is the way it should be optimized today. So we should be leading the transformation. And sometimes we can't get the right data. In my opinion, when we're building analytical models, think of all the thought processes you go through, John, when you wake up. You're reading your body, Do I have to go to the bathroom? Is the floor cold? Should I wear heavy socks? Is it raining outside? Do I need to leave early? And you've taken in probably 15 or 20 data sources and you've made 30 or 50 decisions in the span of a couple seconds. Models should be the same. Every data source and every data element that goes into a human decision should go into a model's decision. And that's hard to do. So if we're not grabbing all that data and integrating it together and putting the right math on top of it, we're going to fail. And to do that is hard. It sounds simple, but it's not. It's hard. And if we're trying to do the hard things, we're going to fail quite a bit. Now, analytics, I think part of the reason I wrote that book was that people in organizations treat analytics teams and operations if they're a function of technology. They're not. They are a function of transformation, creativity, data, and math. So the most successful data scientists and professionals I've ever worked with are more like musicians and artists and painters than they are technologists. And they act the same way too. They're mercurial. They don't show up to work. They don't do things for long periods of time, and then they have huge bursts of creativity. That's part of the reason why I wrote the book, because if you're an executive and you're thinking, I'm going to go out and hire a tech team and they're going to do data science, you've already failed.
You'll hear more about that if you attend our UWEBC boot camp with John on September 30th. And then I know, John, at the main conference, you're talking about GenAI and beyond. So there's a lot to learn from a guy like John Thompson, who has been doing this a long time and seen a lot of changes. So we hope people do go to the UWEBC website to register for our annual conference and that mini boot camp. And John, I'll leave you with one last question. You really seem to love what you do. Now, I would think it'd be easy. I'm thinking as a guy about the same age as you to go, wow, this stuff's getting really big. Can I keep up with it? But obviously you can, and you seem to thrive on it. What do you love about what you do?
I'm fired up. I'm ready to go, John. It's the greatest time in the world, in my opinion. I have a lot of friends that are doing the same thing or going through the same thought process you're just outlined as, hey, I've been doing this for a while. I think it's time to play a little bit more golf and maybe work part-time. I'm going full-time, man. I'm actually going to become a professor in the winter. And I've got a book in process. I got 2 more books in idea stage. And this is the best time in the world, as far as I'm concerned, is in being a data and analytics professional. So no slowing down for me.